people are talking in the afternoon?
Well, our guest this afternoon has been called the P.T. Barnum of Silicon Valley and widely acknowledged as the father of the video game industry. He created Pong and 35 other video games while chairman of Atari. He also is the founder of Pizza Time Theater. And if that's not enough, he's currently working on personal robots for home use. As a matter of fact, you'll see how one works this afternoon right here on People Are Talking. But first of all, let's welcome creative genius Nolan Bushnell. Good afternoon.
Well, welcome to People Are Talking. It's nice to have you with us, Nolan. When you invented your first video game, did you have any idea that it would take off? I mean, do with it, what it's done today?
Yes, I did, but I didn't think it'd do it quite as quickly. And it's one of those things that, it was a dream I had, and I always felt that it was going to win. I just didn't realize it was going to win quite so quickly.
Now, when you were a young boy, were you fascinated by electronics, and did you do a lot of things with...
I had a ham radio license when I was 10 years old, and a bedroom that my mother said was dangerous to man and beast. And it was constantly a tinkerer's world for me, up until I discovered girls, of course.
The first game that then your bedroom became dangerous too? Well, we won't get into all that. But your first game that really became popular was called Pong. But that was not your first video game invention.
No, the first one was called Computer Space, which was an adaptation of the Space Wars that we played in the computer labs all during college. What happens, computers are turned on 24 hours a day. And so some of us who really were into computers, we'd come in the wee hours of the morning, you get free computer time just because they had to be going and nobody was using them. So that's when we'd play games. And we used to play Space War and things like that. And it was just a matter of bringing that to popular prices that made Pong and all the others possible.
But Computer Space, your first game, really didn't take off, really wasn't terribly successful. What was the cause of that?
Well, I loved it. All my friends loved it. But all my friends were engineers. It was very difficult to use Newton's first law. It was one of those games which was very difficult to play. It took a relatively high technical background. And so I said, the next one, everybody's going to know the rules. Ping pong, tennis. It's going to be something she'll be able to walk up. And I realized that people didn't read the instructions. Nobody reads instructions. So the game almost had to be able to play itself so that people would know what was happening. So that's how Pong was born.
How much money did it take, did you put into Atari to begin that company?
$250. And it was...
This was in 1972?
Yeah, I mean, inflation has taken its toll. It costs a lot more now. But it was actually $500. I cheated a little bit because I had a partner, and he put in $250 himself.
So with an initial investment of $500, you started this, and I think Newsweek or Time reported that you are now worth about $70 million.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah. He's being modest.
Well, there's an old saying that says, figures never lie, but liars often figure.
You see, Atari, what, in 1972, are we talking about the $500 investment?
No, this was actually 1970. Atari actually was started, incidentally, Atari was started by calling it syzygy.
Syzygy?
S-Y-Z-Y-G-Y. It's a really neat word. It's in the dictionary. It means a conjunction of planets, and there's a biological term for it as well. But it was a game, it was hard to pronounce, and some other company had taken it. So the time we incorporated, we had to change it to Atari.
So Atari means what?
Well, it's from the game of Go, which is a polite way of saying that you're about to be engulfed. It's a garde term, saying to your opponent, hey, I made a move, you better do something about it or I'm going to take your men.
I see.
I thought it was a nice thing to call a company. Suitably aggressive.
Well, yeah, it is a wonderful name. A lot of people have some objections, Nolan, to computer games for their children. They think that maybe they're not real good for kids. Have you heard those?
Well, of course. You've got to understand that there are always those people who are very, very afraid of the future. And and will do everything they can. I mean, the Middle Ages had the people who really wanted to burn books. They felt that books were changing the way of life, the old values. And the computer phobia, which is real, it has taken a certain scapegoat in the video game. A lot of people don't realize that video games are really the training wheels of computer literacy, and they haven't made that connection. Mother comes home from, or Johnny comes home from school, and Mother says, "You quit playing those video games, you know, you're spending all your lunch money, da-da-da-da-da-da." Then the next day he comes home and he says, "Mom, I know how to program a computer at school." And she says, "My son's so smart. Here he's never seen a computer before, and in one day he learns how to program." Well, that's not true. The fact is that he has been practicing computer literacy for the previous 3 years. It's just been costing him 25 cents a time. And the step from game playing to computer programming is so small to be almost not noticeable. And
I think a lot of the complaints is I think people are going with we have to learn more about computers, but some folks feel that the video games are becoming addictive. You know, a lot of boys and girls are standing in front of them at hours of a time. It's costing an awful lot of money.
Well,
and they're shutting out other areas of their life.
The problems of excess are always something that are with us. And excess is excess. It's whether you drink too much coffee or whether you, you know, excessive book reading. You know, they used to call them bookworms, and excessive drinking is called alcoholism. In the excess, anything is a problem. Too much football, and I believe that if you have moderation in all things, you have a better life, and that includes video games.
But you really think that video games can, in some respects, well, they can help children learn about computers? A lot of people think that are very pro video games that they can help coordination and eyesight and...
I know that video games are good for you. I mean, they certainly have been for you.
Well,
yeah, that's true. We got to take a commercial break. As you say, computers are a thing of the future. Nolan says robots are also a thing of the future, and we're going to meet Topo, one of his robots, after this. Not robots, but like figures that sing and dance, kind of an audiotronics, and it's part of your Pizza Time Theater. Let's show King, who is a large, well, let's show it and then we'll come back. Sings like Elvis. This is what you would find at a Pizza Time Theater.
I'd like to dedicate this next song to all my fans.
Well, bless my soul, what's wrong with me? I'm itching like a man on a fuzzy tree. My friends say I'm acting wild as a bug. I'm in love. I'm all shook up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, well, my hands are shaking and my knees.
After Atari and all, you open up pizza parlors, in essence, and you put, what gave you the idea to put entertainment like that in there?
Well, I think that I wanted to have entertainment, and what I was thinking of is the pizza parlors that had the big Wurlitzer organ were very successful, and I wanted to have a nice place where kids could go to play games. And but the Wurlitzer organs were expensive and hard to find, and I felt that what you really liked about that was the fact that there was a lot of visual happening. And so using some of that, and we have a band box that does all that, we decided to design it. And first we were going to do a country store where the potbelly stove sang bass and the canned goods were the chorus and that sort of thing, as kind of a thing. And then we decided, oh heck, let's go with the animals. And so we bought a costume from a trade show, gave it to our engineers and said, make him talk. And that's really how Chuck E. Cheese was born.
Well, you have always been a huge fan of Walt Disney.
No question about it.
And you, at one time, right out of college, wanted to work for Walt Disney, did you not?
Yes, I put my application into the Disney Studios, and they didn't want me.
Oh. They're lost.
That was of a benefit to you, actually.
Actually,
I
yes.
want you, from what we understand, when Warner Communications bought Atari, there was a 7-year non-competition clause that you had to sign. That 7 years is up, if I'm correct,
October.
this year, in October of this year.
First, 10 o'clock.
Have you got a video game in mind, or what is ahead for video games as far as Nolan Bushnell sees it?
Let's just say that that Pizza Time Theater will be back with a vengeance. We have a division. It's called Sente. Sente turns out to be the one move in the game of Go that beats an Atari. I don't know why. And we'll be back building games, selling games.
But is there going to be a difference in the look of video games?
You bet.
What is it going to be?
Not telling you. But, hey, it's a competitive business out there, and...
I mean, can you give us a hint? Are we going to be just playing the games like we do now, or is there going to be an added dimension, possibly?
Well, let's just say that the first few ones that we're going to put out, we don't want to electrify the market too much because we want to build up our manufacturing capability. But we have some things in the lab that I think everyone will say, gee, wished I'd thought of that.
Well, one thing that it has been reported in some of the things that have been written about you is like a travel game.
Oh, Robotics Travel International?
Yes.
That's more, that's a little bit of ways away. The communication links are a little too expensive. The basic idea is that you get into a booth and you are controlling a robot on the streets of Venice. And you see what the robot sees, you hear what the robot hears, you smell what the robot smells. You can go into a shop and by using your Robotics Travel International credit card, charge items in the local shops and have them sent home. So that for the without jet lag, without having to spend a lot of money on an expensive hotel, you will have 80% of the experience of international travel.
Isn't that incredible?
Do you have time to sleep at night? I mean, with all these ideas, do you get, like, sleep 8 hours a night? No?
Yes.
If you have an idea, or you'd like to get a hold of Nolan Bushnell for any particular reason, here's the address. Nolan Bushnell, care of Pizza Time Theaters, Inc., 1213 Innsbrook Drive, down in Sunnyvale, 94086. We could spend a heck of a lot more time with you. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but we'll have you back, hopefully. Huh?
Okay.
Okay.
My
Nice
pleasure.
hand for Nolan Bushnell. And I'll be right back. Thank you.